Here's what I learned by Nicholas Dunn about geology. Learning about the past. What we can learn from the past has to do with the houses, the pottery, the dirt levels, the items around the site. The houses, it can tell us what they did in that house. For example, we could learn about the what they ate. Was this a living place? Was it a place they would meet and have meetings? The dirt levels, those are important as depending where in the dirt can tell you about what year it was in, what area, what was it that was in that area they did from pottery. Pottery's a big one as their vases, art. Art can usually tell us about what they were doing. Was it a religious site? Was it a just a home somebody made artwork in? Was it a was it a big religious area that people went to worship? Pottery can tell us many things about it. Another big one can tell us is how they lived is about items around the site. Were they people who went from one area to another? Like if there was shells there and there's no beach, did they walk across to the ocean to get shells and use all that for building, or was it something else? And that can really intertwine with pottery and the dirt levels in the house, as those items can tell us a lot from where it is. And that can work depending on who you're talking to and who you think was around at that time. Another is challenges faced. Items in different dirt levels at the same time can kind of mess up your data as what kind of year was it with the dirt levels. They can tell us by year due to what layer they're in. But that can also be troublesome as we was it in this layer first, then kind of sunk down to this layer, or was it in this layer and somehow the other layer got to that low to a different reason? Another is missing items from a building. That can tell us a lot as that building could have been a religious, a meeting place, a house, but without those missing items, it's going to be harder to tell. And that goes the same with a building not being complete. We can't tell if that building is missing something or is it just was it a house again, something people lived in, was it a meeting, but without being complete, it's harder to tell what it was used for. Examples of how they lived and how they ate is um better help us understand culture and how people relate to each other is items. Big thing is about a fire pit in center. Were they people who at night went at night and met around the fire, tell stories? Did they trade with people? Were there trade routes? Were they hunters and gatherers with spears around and fishing hooks and bows? As these, they kind of tell us how they communicated, how they kind of worked together, and how they worked with the land. And that is very important to tell us what these people were. Sustainable solutions. Big thing is how they took care of the land. They learned not to overuse it as they didn't want to travel around as much. So they never, whenever they hunted, they would never overhunt. They would go to the extent that they would have enough for their village. They would make sure that they only hunted for what they needed. And when they did hunt, and after they would clean the meat off and all that, they would go and use everything else in that animal. They would take the bones, they take anything they could. The hide would be used for things. Everything would be used for something else. And we can learn from the past about safer and better ways of using items in our environment. It's just harder to do as we're so set with our technology right now. it's harder to learn from that past. Takeaways. So some things I learned about the Cherokee for takeaways was that they were pressured into signing a treaty that took away their land. The elders tried hard to kind of stop the land from being taken away. They held out as long as they could, but in the end, the states still at the end they still signed it, as it was harder for them to survive with the state bearing down on them more and more. And that led to the Trail of Tears, and that brought around 16,000 Cherokee tribes on a on the walk to where they live now, and that and on that walk around 4,000 of them had died. And then also during that time they didn't have a government election for 70 years. Imagine not having a president for 70 years and then just like somebody saying, "Oh yeah, no, you can have somebody to tell you what to do now." That is pretty much what happened to them. Their government was taken away from them for 70 years to the extent where they didn't have a leader to guide them and tell them how to do anything. And another big thing was to help protect their land was they signed a treaty to only trade with King George II and the British. This was a way so they could protect their land and stop it from being taken away when when the British first arrived and colonies were being set up. But as the wars happened, it got harder and harder as the state won, and that goes back to the state pressuring them and taking away that land that they owned. So for for the contemporary indigenous people, so two examples. So one is the water needs to be always tested, as we never took good care of the water when they worked with it. And another thing is the land, as they had homes. They worked hard to keep these homes clean. They worked hard to make sure that it was their homeland. But when the states took that away, eventually the people went, "Hey, no, that's our land. We want it back." And that's the government was not doing that first, but eventually they went, "You can have your land back. You can also have somebody to tell you how to live. You can have your leader back, but you can only have it in this area." As and with that going, it's harder for them to. They don't have all their items and all their religious items back as they would if they went to their original home area. But it's slowly being worked on as their ancestors' graves and everything are slowly returning to the people to be buried with the people, and so that they can have those items back to the extent where they can live and where they can have their own religion back and and everything they need. Mm. So, a big thing is the information we gathered. A lot of that entwines with the other people and relates to the people of my project. As with this, they have a reservation. They're someplace safe. They have a leader that's able to kind of tell them this is what to do. But the issue is they still have to test the water for cleaning, as we never took good care about with it. They are not doing. They They hope to eventually not be able to have to go out on the river and test the water, make sure it's healthy enough to fish in and be able to feed their people. As if the water's not safe from us dumping so much waste into it in the past, then the fish won't be safe. And as we learned, that can cause a huge outcry and a disease, and that can affect the whole town in that area. And we're hoping that eventually they don't have to test that water. They just want to go and look and say, yep, that's clean. And they're slowly getting their land back as they wanted. So the research can help me apply what I've learned in future, as I want to work with animals in future, and with that, that can help me um help me work with the animals of show what happened in the past, what they did in the past, they what they how they lived in past, and with being able to see how the animals lived in past, that can help us kind of take that health health kind of healthy ecosystem they had and work towards what they want, what would be best for the animal. How do we make sure it's not going to become extinct? How do we make sure it can survive if we release this back into the wild? As a lot of animals right now are slowly being losing their habitat through building, through climate change, through different things, and hopefully from the past we can learn into how we can help these animals to the future.